To say that Roger Anderson was a bit more off-kilter since we had heard the recording back at the complex would have been an understatement. The once stoic and proud-looking Brit in the photographs was now an unhinged nutcase caked in grime. Glasses cracked, greasy hair flowing down to his shoulders, and more concerned with how rocks tasted than the 5 new people that stood around him. "Well, look on the bright side," Eric said. Looking around the man, the floor was littered in old books, candy bar wrappers, and what I hoped was mud. They only said bring him back alive. Alive. The old man jumped up. He grabbed Eric by his vest, shaking him vigorously. He was pretty strong for an old crazy guy. One life, many lives, your life, all just simple puppets in a show put on by the gods. This beast forever scorned as the villain. He blinked rapidly, like he was trying to think of the next verse to his sermon. Who are you again? Your rescue party, Eric said, shoving him back on his ass. And this had better not be what I think it is, he shouted, wiping a brown smudge off his shirt. Oh yes, quite. My rescuers. You are to rescue me from whom exactly? Mr. Anderson. Trevor stepped forward, taking a knee next to him. We're from the Alpha Syndicate. You may call me Trevor. My team and I were contracted by your estate to bring you back safe and sound. Safe, at least, Eric muttered. Trevor shot back a shut the fuck up glare. As I was saying, we were also told to bring a relic of some kind. Some sort of coin. Ah yes, the coin. The holy lens of the Nile god. The jewel of fame. Tossers. The lot of my employ, but they are correct. Indeed, Trevor said, standing back as the archaeologist jumped spryly to his feet. May I ask what's so special about this piece? Ask. Roger crossed over to Trevor in 2 quick steps. I heard the sound of a safety being switched and looked to see Paige raising her rifle from the darkness. The muzzle of the weapon pointed at Anderson. My good man. I'd be insulted if you didn't. He laughed heartily and put a hand on Trevor's shoulder. Please come. This way. I breathed an audible sigh of relief as the safety clicked again and the muzzle disappeared back into the darkness. This, Anderson said as we crowded around a torch underneath the massive stone monster, is the coin of Sobek. He opened his hand to reveal a tiny circular glass disc half full of a deep purple liquid. That's not a coin though, I muttered to Paige, who nudged me to shut up. Sobek was a god, you see, said to be born from these very lands. He was a god of sea creation, the lord of the waters, and a defender of balance, allying himself with both the forces of order as well as sea chaos, or so the story goes. He clasped his hands back around the piece. He was worshipped for centuries. They would even mummify sea crocodiles with the pharaohs in hopes of protecting them in the afterlife. That's all well and good, sir, Trevor said, eyeing him carefully. But what does that have to do with this place? But that's just what I said, yes. We all looked at each other, confused. At least I did say that right. I'm not thinking what I'm saying or saying what I'm thinking again. It's a lot easier to do the latter. Don't you think, sir? Trevor said a little louder. Where are we? The man stood there for a second longer. He touched his fingertips together, muttering to himself. Roger, I don't know, Anderson yelled back. Both their voices reverberated off the walls of the stone tomb. He gave a sigh and placed a hand to his head, rubbing his temples with his finger and thumb. I don't know. He walked back to the table, stacking his books. Not one word of this temple anywhere in history. This place isn't even on a map. It was simply stumbled upon by a hiker taking a trek through the park. We slowly made our way over silently as he continued to explain. The only thing I can figure out is the tale of the coin. Now to find it. He sounded a bit frantic as he flipped through the dusty tomes, finally settling on a page, written in ancient Egyptian. The text was translated on a post-it note on the next page. Wade reached and took the book, reading aloud for the rest of us. And rejoice, he who drinks the dark waters. Your cup shall fill and will be filled for all time. Take to task your prayers to the son of Neith. Allow his will to flow through your blood like the Nile of the Old Kingdom. Rejoice, dear brothers, in the union of your mortal flesh to that of the Lord of the waters. Rejoice in his dark sea. Allow his path from the underworld to join your path to dreams. Rejoice, dear brothers, and heed our call of brotherhood. Heed the call of the dark river god. So the coin is filled with a never-ending supply of drinking water? Paige asked skeptically. Either that or lizard steroids, Eric threw in. Both great ideas, Anderson said, in a much calmer tone. As far as I can surmise, this place was a secret temple to Sobek. As to why here, well, as you heard, they believed this to be the entrance to his world, the underworld to be exact. That would explain the whole dark god bit, I said. I gripped my rifle a little bit firmer, regardless of what it is, Trevor said, breaking me from my thoughts. I don't want to spend any longer in this place than I have to. Get your shit, sir, and keep a tight hold on the relic. We're leaving. Yeah, about that? Boss, Eric said. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we can't go anywhere till the storm outside lets up. Nearly swept me and the big man away. Of course there's a storm. All right, new plan. Let's make our way back to the entrance. We'll survey the scene and make our decision on what to do next. Oh, if you require guidance, I can make a great guide to the cave mouth. Let me find my spectacles, please, sir. They're on your face, Paige said in exasperation. Oh, yes. I see. Anderson pulled off his glasses and rubbed the smudges off. Kid, you're on point. Get us out of here. Trevor rubbed his temples. With a nod, I took to the task. The way back was a bit more manageable the second time. I didn't mind the journey so much as long as it got me the hell out of there. I heard the storm before I saw it. The rushing wind coming off the dunes sounded like I was behind a plane getting ready for takeoff. I felt the sand grate on my teeth and sting my nose as much as I felt that familiar crunch beneath my feet. On top of that, the torchlight was almost completely swallowed by that dull dark brown shade. Just my fucking luck. Well shit, looks like we're gonna be here a bit longer than expected, Trevor exclaimed, seeing the thick wall of swirling sand that surrounded our exit. Told you, boss, Eric said. Defeated? Nothing we can do but let it pass. I guess so. Wade, break out the camping gear. We're gonna ride it out as comfortably as we can. On it, Wade's voice echoed from the back as he sat his pack down and began rummaging through it. He pulled out the contents: 2 tents, a hot plate, a small mess kit with a cooking pot, and 10 cans of soup. Check your bag, kid. Headquarters should have issued a field kit in case of emergency situations like these. Inside I found a mess kit similar to Wade's, packed with canned stew, a small first aid kit, some spare ammunition, a sleeping bag, and a few flares. Pretty soon we had a nice little setup. We made use of rocks for makeshift chairs while Trevor made a pot of soup for us. All the creature comforts, save for heat, water, and not being trapped in a creepy abandoned temple. We'll work in shifts, Trevor said after finishing his bowl. 4-hour posts till the morning. Storm shouldn't last more than a few hours, but at the very least it'll give y'all some rest. Plus, with the sun blacked out by the sand, you can get some shut-eye in case we need to move in the night. I know we haven't seen anything abnormal yet. Well, abnormal for us at least. Nevertheless, I need you all on top of shit. The fact we haven't seen anything is more unsettling than the norm. Are you forgetting the giant stone lizard and endless ocean covered in blackness and evil? Eric said, reaching for a second helping. Not evil per se, when you think about it. What is the modern religion if not successful sea cults? True, but I don't think I'm going to a creepy-ass cave for a Baptist revival, Eric retorted, giving Trevor a very non-discreet eye roll. We all tried to stifle our laughter before Trevor cleared his throat. Congrats, Eric. You pulled the first watch. Paige will take second, followed by myself. The kid and Wade will be our early bird. Works for me, I said, scarfing down the rest of the food. I better hit the sack. Trevor nodded. We all should. Try to rest as much as you can. We'll be out of here faster than you can say Cairo. Cairo, Eric called out. Say it slower. Paige yelled back. Mr. Anderson, feel free to try to rest by us if it makes you feel better. We'll wake you if we need to. Otherwise, we'll see you in the morning. As you say, my dear. Hopefully together the dreams won't be such an issue. Right, you and your group were having trouble sleeping. I almost forgot. The same dream every time. I found myself swimming, a pool of black water with no land in sight. Suddenly mighty jaws sprang up and devoured me, tearing and rending my flesh from my body, dragging me down under the depths. The last thing I saw before waking were 2 red eyes the size of houses glaring at me. Well, Paige said, sounding a bit unsettled. That sounds like a lovely image to see before bed. Indeed, perhaps the farther away I am, the lesser the severity will be. Let's hope so, sir, Trevor said. He crawled onto a bare spot on the floor, pulling his pack behind his head to use as a pillow. I'd hate to have you go from slumbering to unconscious, but if you have an episode and put my team in danger, I won't think twice about helping you go back to sleep. Why, yes, of course, Anderson said. Again, he made the gesture of touching his fingertips and looking down at the ground as placed his back to the wall next to me. The man looked like a kid who'd broken a window and was waiting for punishment. I felt a little bad for the guy. It wasn't too long before he and the rest of the team were out. I'm not sure when it was when I finally drifted off. With the hard floor and ever-blowing wind, it seemed like I never would. Somehow I managed. I must have been sleeping lighter than I thought. Seeing that when I woke up, it was seemingly for no reason, I sat up, rubbing my eyes to adjust to the darkness. The storm must have finally stopped since I could feel myself think again. No more rushing wind or sand particles slapped my face. Something else had replaced it though. A low, buzzing ring crept up my spine and settled behind my eardrums, like when you stop listening to something loud. It was an itch I couldn't scratch no matter how much I tugged at my ears. I think it got louder, to be honest. My eyes finally adjusted, moving to the torchlight that illuminated our little camp. Trevor was sitting on a rock with his back to me. He was rigid and on edge. "Kid, do not make a sound. Do not panic. And listen to me very carefully." With those words, my body went on high alert. My hand stiffened around the grip of my rifle. The ringing seemed to turn up a notch. All the ambient sounds faded away, so that I could barely hear Trevor's voice. "Something's not right. I want you to slowly, very slowly, inch towards the cave mouth. Look outside and tell me what you see." Whether it was the comfort of knowing Trevor was there or sheer muscle memory, my legs worked. I carefully tiptoed off to the mouth, making my way. I realized something else. Every torch was out, not just the ones that were at the mouth during the storm, but everywhere. Even heading back inside, the only illumination came from Trevor's lighter and the light outside. Wait a second. Where was the fucking moon? Where were the stars? There was nothing there. I don't mean it was so overcast the moon was blocked. I mean there was nothing. Just a deep purple backdrop that seemed to move. It vibrated and twisted, casting a damp glow on the sand in front of us. The sand, the ever-growing range of dunes that seemed to go on endlessly. Sand, rocks, and dust, but no trucks, no tarps, no trash. Hell, there weren't even footprints or tracks in any direction. And the sand, it wasn't brown. It was pitch black, like God grated coal from the heavens. A massive ocean of black as far as the eye could see. "I don't think we're in Egypt anymore, kid," Trevor said a few feet behind me. It was hard to hear him. It was hard to hear anything. The ringing increased enough to make my knees shake. I kept my balance and tried to concentrate. Where? I don't know. I can't even remember when the storm stopped. It was there when I took it from Paige, and then it just stopped, like that. He snapped his fingers. I lost my sense. I thought I might lose my dinner. I didn't know what to say. I could feel myself starting to hyperventilate. "Easy, kid. We're not where we were, but we're alive." I woke the team. "Let's get a plan." His voice cut out. The ringing wouldn't let me hear. It seeped into my brain and I could feel my skull vibrate. I dropped to my knees, clutching my head in my hands. And I screamed, even though I couldn't hear it. I felt my mouth contort, my jaw popping and my vocal cords shaking. Eventually I heard something else. It wasn't the ambience. It wasn't Trevor or the others shaking me, their mouths yelling but silent. It was something deep and primordial, guttural and angry. A voice that traveled from the very earth up my body, where I felt it grip my soul and work my mouth like I was a puppet. I heard it in my mind as the others heard it from me. "Return it." My body trembled. The air left me. I felt violated and worked over. But at least the ringing had stopped. I looked up at them. The looks on their faces flashed between fear to concern, settling on Trevor's solemn grimace. "Kid, Marcus, can you hear me?" I looked at him and nodded. "Stand up," he said, reaching a hand out and pulling me up. I felt a hand on my back and looked to see Paige, still eyeing me with concern. She had the eyes of a mother, someone who didn't want to see you hurt, who wanted to bear the weight of your pain. I hadn't seen that side of her before. Trevor's voice snapped us both back to the situation. "Look, guys, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who took the lights out or who decided to play ventriloquist with the kid. All I know is we're here. And whether it's a ghost or a god throwing a bitch fit, we have to figure out a way to get the fuck out of Dodge. Now look alive. We don't know what's out there." But gunshot rang out, the sound that comes from a high-powered rifle. Eric was kneeling down and firing out into the sand. "I think I have a pretty good idea, boss," he shouted. We all turned to see what he was talking about. The sand was moving. The black crystals flew away like the wake from a boat. Something was swimming underneath, something massive, and it was heading right for us. "Make a kill zone. Eric, keep peppering the waves. Lead your shots. Paige, Marcus, find cover and alternate bursts. Wade, break open the tripod and put the pig on cyclic. Let's go." We all flew into action. Eric's rifle barked again as he aimed in. The barrel of Wade's machine gun glowed as he held the trigger down, his tracer rounds lighting up the night. It was so disorienting. Everything was happening so fast, but Paige grabbed me and slammed me against a nearby wall. She let a burst of rounds fly, while Trevor mirrored us on the far side. But the thing kept coming. It was nearing in on us, strafing side to side, almost surfing the dunes. It was fast. Paige and I alternated every other burst. But if the amount of firepower we were throwing at it didn't slow it down, what were we going to do when it decided to pop out? "Paige, now," Trevor shouted. Paige stepped forward and opened the bottom of her rifle, loading a grenade. With the pull of the trigger, the grenade flew out, lighting the sand in front of us on fire. "Please kill it," I thought. I prayed to God, to anyone with power to listen. "Please kill this fucking thing." My heart sank lower than I thought it could as the creature plowed right through, extinguishing the flames in its wake. It was almost here. And it was getting faster. The sounds of a rifle stopped, ringing out among the volley of lead. Eric stood and backpedaled quickly, trying to get his mag out. Trevor, I'm dry. I got it, that's all he got out. Then a large black mouth filled with gargantuan teeth opened up from underneath him and ripped him in two. The beast dove out of the sand to stand on its back legs. It was as tall as a bus and twice as wide. Its body was coated a deep black that gave off an unnatural glow, its red eyes widening in glee. A giant black crocodile. Its gaping maw snapped down on Eric again, spraying chunks of bone and viscera across the cave floor. His arm still dangled from the beast's tooth. I heard Wade yell, turning his weapon on the croc and firing again, in one swift motion. The creature dipped down and reached the man in the blink of an eye. The firing stopped as it picked Wade up with his massive hands and grabbed Wade by both sides. Then it pulled. Wade popped like a cork. His intestines spilled from him to the floor as he screamed. The scream of immeasurable pain, mixed with fear and the truth of certain death. His cries were drowned out as the creature spoke, projecting his voice to all of us. Return that which you stole, with a meaty thwack. The beast hurled Wade's body against the wall, painting it with blood. More, there's more, Paige screamed out. The entire desert, this ocean of blackness, the sands of hell were churning. More wakes came, more creatures coming to us. I heard the scream of the one person I couldn't bear to hear. I looked over to see the creature had grabbed onto Trevor and was hanging him upside down, lowering him to its throat. Trevor was yelling. He emptied his magazine into the creature, yet nothing seemed to work. It was unfazed, like he was shooting him with a spitball. TREV, Paige screamed out as she rushed to save him. It was too late. The creature's jaws came down again, crushing Trevor's head like a grape. She stopped screaming. She stopped running. She turned. She looked at me with the same mother-like eyes, now filled with tears. Then a second beast slammed into her, turning her body into a pink mist. They were dead. Everyone was dead. Trevor, Eric, Wade, Paige. I backed up against the wall. I could do nothing but stand there and watch as my team was turned into a grinder. Another beast landed in front of me, standing back as it towered above me. I don't want to die like this, like them. I grabbed my pistol. I raised it and pointed it to my head. I heard the voice again. Return the waters of the river god. I fired. I sprang awake with a scream. Awake, not dead, not in heaven, still in this brown shithole on earth. This brown, well-lit shithole with a sandstorm roaring outside. Had this all been a dream? I looked around, and my suspicions were confirmed, as everyone was still out, but they were in one piece and breathing. They also looked to be having the worst dreams of their lives. Everyone was twitching and spasming, their eyes moving rapidly under their eyelids. I saw Eric knocked out against the wall. We must have never made it out of the first watch. Fuck it, I didn't care. I knew what I needed to do. I steeled myself as I opened my pack and grabbed my flares. Anderson was only a few feet away. Ironically, he was the only one who seemed to sleep soundly, snoring like a sawmill with the coin laying plainly on his chest, its once dark waters now glowing a deep, blood-red color. I grabbed the coin. I took it and ran back inside. The torches here were still lit, so I didn't have to use the flares yet. I quickly found myself on the ramp leading into the sanctum, where the other torches had stayed lit. The room itself had snuffed any light that was there when we left. I lit one of my flares and made a break for the table. The second I entered, I felt watched. A million eyes, all watching me, all staring in delight as I sprinted and stood on the table. I must have nearly tripped twice in trying to get there. My hand clasped at the coin as I wrenched it from my pocket and placed it back in the stone croc's mouth. But it wasn't stone. It didn't feel like stone. It felt warm and wet. I felt a tongue that curled and gently lifted the coin from my fingertips. I heard that voice chill my veins again. Not in my head, but in my ear, right next to me. Good boy. My flare went out. I stumbled and crawled away, trying to orient myself in the dark. That was when I heard the laughter, the deep, guttural, sickly laughter of a hellish crowd erupting from the sea below, seeping up through the walls and burrowing into my brain. I didn't think as I grabbed another flare, stood up, and ran to the exit, trying not to shit myself. I tried not to pay attention to the shadows on the walls. Every time I looked at them, they smiled a toothy Cheshire grin. Wake up, I yelled at the top of my lungs. I didn't hear the howling wind anymore, didn't taste the sand. Reaching the entrance, I saw the storm was gone and the skies were clear. The normal sky. I screamed again as Trevor's body shot up, pointing a pistol around. What is it, kid? What's going on? He said through half-closed eyes. Look, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but where is it? Anderson's cries cut me off. Where is the sea coin? He was searching everywhere, pulling packs open and tearing at his pockets. Trevor looked at me with a raised eyebrow. Kid, what did you do? I just saved our asses. Now can we please leave? And not W without the C coin. Why you ingrate? Anderson was in my face now. His cheeks flushed with rage as he poked my chest. I have spent half my life chasing a F find like this, and no M mercenary is G going to F fuck he couldn't finish. My fist connected with his jaw and hit his snooze button. Marcus. What the hell is going on? I heard Paige from behind me. Yeah, rookie. What the fuck? Eric said with a yawn. I grabbed my hair and pulled, letting out a yell of frustration. Halfway through I felt Trevor grab my wrist. Not hard, but enough to tell me to look at him. His eyes met mine and he understood. With a nod, he turned. Pack up team. Let's get the hell out of here. Storm's over. Should be smooth riding back home. All protests stopped at once. Everyone looked at me, then at each other. They quickly began to pack up. Within minutes we were speeding away from the cave, on our way back to civilization. So that's it. James Silva, the head of Syndicate HR, sat in front of me, scribbling his notes down on a piece of yellow office paper. He was a tall middle-aged guy. His once black hair, now streaked with some silver, was slicked back with a shitload of pomade and I'm sure every other product under the sun. A bright blue suit and shiny gold Rolex completed his used car salesman getup. Yes, sir. That's it. We made it to transport Xville to London, then landed here 3 days ago. We'd been given a couple of days to rest up after getting back. I'd gotten a call a few hours ago that I needed to come in for a performance evaluation. Before I knew it, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up in front of my apartment building, and I was strongly encouraged to go for a ride. Thank you, Mr. Kent. Sir, can I ask why I'm here? Of course you can, Mr. Kent. Silva flashed a toothy grin and sat his paper on the table, leaning forward to give me his full attention. 50% of a job well done is 100% failure in management's opinion. We don't have time for half-assed contracts in our line of work. Now, seeing as you are new to the company, certain faults are understandable, so don't worry, you still have employment with us. He paused briefly, like he wanted to make sure I understood fully what he was saying. 50%, I scoffed. We got Anderson out safe. Yes, you did, Mr. Kent, but you also just admitted to returning the coin, the other half of the job. But he waved his hand with a smile. Nice corporate way of saying shut the fuck up. While management is frustrated, we understand that certain mishaps will happen during a training period. That coupled with your performance review from your supervisor who saw you in a more, shall we say, favorable light. My supervisor, that would be me. Kid. Trevor's voice came behind me as the door opened, bringing some natural light into this dingy fluorescent shithole. You done with him? Silva, got a briefing in 5. Silva looked over all his notes again. Everything here is in order. I'll update contract number 26,043 accordingly. He turned to me. You're free to go, Mr. Kent. We left in a hurry, power walking through the corridors and cubicles. I looked over to see Trevor light a cigarette as we passed the last row of office drones to the door at the back of the complex. Thanks, man. For what, kid? He blew a plume of smoke out and turned to look at me. Well, for saving my ass with that report. He gave out a laugh and shook his head. Kid, you saved all our asses back in Egypt. Those dreams, what I saw, what we all saw. I wouldn't have woken up. Least I can do. You trusted my judgment. I couldn't help but crack a smile. Didn't Paige tell you? Golden rule, kid. Always trust your team. These guys, he pointed to the complex, they find people like us. People that don't have anyone. Loners, drifters, runaways, you get the picture. They put a gun in our hands and use us to turn a profit. What family do we have out in the world, if not the ones beside us when the shit hits the fan? I know you trust me. I know everyone in the team does. I also need to trust you all as well. I nodded as my smile widened. Now, he said, before taking a long pull and puffing the cigarette down to the filter, get your game face on, kid. Time to go to work.